In the heart of the ancient Mistwood Forest, where the air was thick with the scent of pine and the songs of birds echoed like whispers, there lived a young fairy named Lyra. She was unlike any other fairy in her village, for she possessed an insatiable curiosity that often led her into the depths of the woods, far beyond where any other fairy dared to venture. Lyra's wings shimmered with shades of blue and green, reflecting the light like a prism. But what truly set her apart was her deep connection to nature. She could speak to the trees, understand the language of the animals, and hear the whispers of the wind. However, there was one thing she had always longed for: a magical wand, one made from the wood of the Great Willow, the oldest and wisest tree in all of Mistwood. The Great Willow stood at the center of the forest, its roots stretching deep into the earth and its branches reaching up to the heavens. It was said that the tree held the power of the forest, and a wand made from its wood would grant its bearer unimaginable power. But the tree was also guarded by ancient enchantments, and no fairy had ever dared to approach it. One crisp autumn morning, Lyra decided that she would seek out the Great Willow. She knew the journey would be perilous, but her heart was set on the quest. She packed a small satchel with berries and nectar, and with a determined flutter of her wings, she set off into the forest. The path to the Great Willow was treacherous. Dark shadows loomed over her as she flew through the dense underbrush, and the once familiar sounds of the forest grew eerie and unsettling. But Lyra pressed on, guided by the whispers of the wind that urged her forward. After hours of flying, Lyra finally reached a clearing where the Great Willow stood. The tree was even more magnificent than she had imagined, its trunk wide enough to house a dozen fairies, its branches heavy with golden leaves that shimmered in the sunlight. As she approached, the ground beneath her began to tremble, and a deep voice echoed through the clearing. "Who dares to approach the Great Willow?" the voice boomed. Lyra hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest, but then she stepped forward. "I am Lyra of the Mistwood Fairies," she called out. "I seek a wand made from your wood, Great Willow." The ground stilled, and for a moment, there was silence. Then the Great Willow spoke again, its voice softer, yet filled with ancient wisdom. "Why do you seek this wand, young fairy?" Lyra thought for a moment before replying. "I do not seek power for myself. I wish to protect the forest and its creatures from harm. With your wand, I can ensure that our home remains safe for generations to come." The Great Willow seemed to consider her words, its leaves rustling in the breeze. Finally, it spoke again. "Your heart is pure, Lyra. You may take a branch, but be warned, this wand will only be as powerful as the heart that wields it. Use it wisely, and it will serve you well." With a deep breath, Lyra reached up to one of the lower branches of the Great Willow. As she touched it, the branch seemed to detach itself from the tree, transforming into a slender, polished wand in her hands. The wand hummed with energy, and as Lyra held it, she could feel the power of the forest flowing through her. "Thank you, Great Willow," Lyra said, bowing deeply. "I will honor this gift." With the wand in her hand, Lyra flew back to her village. As she passed through the forest, she noticed how the trees seemed to bow slightly as she passed, and the animals greeted her with newfound respect. Word of her quest quickly spread, and the other fairies marveled at the wand she had crafted. True to her word, Lyra used the wand to protect the forest. She healed sick trees, guided lost animals back to their homes, and even the wand amplified her natural abilities, but it never overwhelmed her, for Lyra's heart remained true to her purpose. Years passed, and Lyra became known as the Guardian of Mistwood. The forest thrived under her care, and the fairies lived in peace. The wand, once a mere branch from the Great Willow, had become a symbol of hope and harmony. But Lyra knew that the true magic was not in the wand itself, but in the love she held for her home and her people. And so, the Wand of Willowwood became a cherished legend, a tale of courage, wisdom, and the enduring power of a pure heart.